now we're live. Wait a minute.
Goodness.
Wait. All right, we're actually live. All right, we're good. Hey, everybody!
We're here. We're once more. We're on the internet.
I had to make sure I was not paused. Oh, bless Lance. I see everyone's already playing with these new hype train features that Twitch has. Also, thank you all for your immediate support and love.
Oh,
It was
my
really good to be back. Oh, bless
my
y'all.
goodness. Really quick, I'm just gonna do all these. I'm gonna do all these thank yous right now. Adrian P. subscribed at tier 1, 21. Thank you, Switch. Vassals Age you subscribed.
Wait.
Oh, Jeremy, please.
What does 21 mean? What's the thing you get to do at 21? Drink? Congratulations, Switch. I think you could do that already in Canada, though.
I think 21 is the number of streaking months.
No, I know, but now you can drink on Twitch, Switch. You've earned it. Anyway, at least in American Twitch. Oh my God!
Subscribe to tier 1. They've been subscribed for 20 months. 20 months. That's one. You're one away from 21, where you can drink. Thank you, Denderek. Reflected 10-8, subscribe to tier 1, 23-month streak, so many. I agree, Reflected 10-8, that is so many months. Oh my God, Reflected 10-8 also gave us 1,500 bits, and there's a very cute dog there.
Bless, Lance.
Bless. Salune shines down upon you and all of us this day.
But mostly me.
Cold Spark, subscribe with Twitch Prime. Hello, Pete and Jeremy. Welcome to 2020. Thank you for your subscription. It's good to be here in 2020. Maddie Morgs, just 902 bits. Oh my God, guys. Thank you so much.
Holy crap.
Maddie, thank you. Maddie also subscribed on a 16-month streak, Sweet 16. And how sweet indeed it is.
Now, Maddie, how are you going to celebrate your Sweet 16?
Don't drink. You're not. You haven't been subscribed long enough to drink yet. And Farfel13 subscribed with Twitch Prime. They've been subscribed for 22 months. And Farfel says that Jeremy, he's called you a dumb face. Are you going to take that?
I think that answers that question. And hello to the rest of you as well.
Oh my God.
Howdy, everybody. This overwhelming outpouring of support for our random impromptu talk about the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount and the new Honest Arcana. Holy, I didn't expect everyone to come out of the woodwork.
We got the whole crew is here.
Switch, that's a good combination. I never considered the Radtholomew emote would work well with the hands.
And hello to Sword and the Blue Boy and Dude Man and Cold Spark. Oh, Cold Spark we saw. Blood Deuce. Hello to all of you.
Giving a blessed sub donation to Blood. Thank you, my friend. And Blood, welcome to the. I guess we're the D&D timers. That's what you guys voted on like years ago. So you're D&D timers now.
I think D&D timers was the one that I was supporting. I like D&D timers.
Well, everyone else supported it too. I was the one holding. Oh, and Maddie Morg's gifting a sub to Sword.
Oh my God! Thank you so much.
Your support is near and dear to our hearts. Thank you, everybody.
And Farfel13 says, next time I insult Pete, I will prepare myself spiritually for this.
Gotta keep him humble. Yeah, thank you.
And now I think this is normally the time that we'd say that this is D&D Time Talks. Welcome to it, a show where we discuss all things Dungeons and Dragons. But in a lot of ways, yeah, it's not. I mean,
really it says that up there, but it's a lie. This is a new show, Pete. What's it called?
This is just something that me and Jeremy discussed 5 minutes ago, and we're rebranding.
Production.
This is something that me and Jeremy discussed, have been going over for months. Our Q&A has come back that this is the best name for the show. So I welcome all of you now to the Pete and Jeremy show.
It's Pete and Jeremy.
You know, we're going to have some fun. When we just talk about fucking anything. This
is... my God.
I'm subbing. Fair enough.
Also,
I'm Pete.
Reflected tonight in Matty Morgs. Bless. Thank you all so much for all the sub donations in the chat.
I can't keep up with you.
Holy moly.
I can't keep up with you guys. Thank you so much.
Come have a chat with we? I feel like the song has a question mark in it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have a lot of like, when we all just talk about Dungeons and Dragons. There's going to be some work. The song's still coming, but
it's final. That was it. We're going to just clip this scene from this episode, and we're going to play it at the beginning of every one from now.
And the show will be starring me, Pete, and with me, as always, is my dear friend and co-star, Jeremy. Jeremy, what are you doing today?
Yeah, so staying a teeny bit on track here. We got a whole bunch of stuff planned for today. So first, we all want to, before we do anything, thank you all for your outrageous support and for coming up with the random, out of nowhere to come see the show. Thank you. And talk to the show. But also, we want to, everyone, if you can pour out your love and your warmth to Switch, who's living in Canada where it is very cold. Switch needs your warms, so give your warms to him. And then, of course, what we're doing today. So first, we're going to be talking about The Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, new book that has been announced by Wizards of the Coast. It's a cool collaboration between Matt Mercer of Critical Role and the Wizards of the Coast RPG team. Very, very interesting new direction. We're going to talk about this a bit. Then we're going to chat about the new subclasses that have been announced or kind of released in a playtest form through Unearthed Arcana, which is a supplement that Wizards of the Coast puts out for free on their website for people to download, playtest, and then give their feedback. If you have feedback on the Fighter, Rogue, and Wizard subclass options that they did last time, you can go on their website, scroll down, and you can give them your feedback right here. So do that if you have any opinions at all on those psychic subclasses that we talked about a while ago. Because they listen to these. Like, they actually do.
And then we're going to probably wrap up by talking a little bit about some of the new stuff we got planned for the upcoming year, just sort of a state of D&D time address for all of you as we discuss some of the plans we got, which we have a lot of.
Yeah, the state of the time. And of course, we're going to take some time at the end to answer your guys' questions. Feel free, throw them in the Ask Pete and Jeremy channel on our Discord. We know you guys have a ton of them. We'll probably cover a lot in our little address, state of the D&D time address. But yeah, if you have any others, throw them down there and we'll give them an answer. I already see there are some very friendly, nice questions down there. I'm very excited.
Indeed, I am as well.
So, should we start with Explorer's Guide to Wildemount? Let's just get the show on the road here. Pete, what do you think? What's your thought first?
Well, I think the reason both of us wanted to talk about Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, just before we get into it, for anyone unfamiliar with Wildemount and the setting, I think most of you here probably are, but just in case, Wildemount is the setting of the current campaign of the ongoing D&D stream Critical Role, a game run by a fabulous dungeon master, Matt Mercer, which, if you don't know Matt Mercer, I'm very surprised because he is...
How are you here?
He's a titan. How did you get to us before him? But just in case. And as far as this book, this is a very different direction for Wizards of the Coast to go with this type of content instead of. I think this is where some of the controversy around this is, because I think that's why we wanted to talk about it, is because there's some people that are not feeling too good about this choice, and others that are very excited about it.
Yeah, well, this is a really interesting. I see Colt Spark. Never. I don't know him. Oh, I know of him, but I've never seen a bit of Critical Role. Interesting, Cold Spark. Very interesting. So, let's just take a quick. So, Pete, you were saying the big controversy, right, is this new direction. I don't think this really is that new a direction.
I actually agree. I think a lot of people are seeing it that way, but definitely it's very much on the path that Wizards has been going lately, which is a more mainstream one.
Well, even beyond that, right? Dungeons and Dragons, right? The campaign settings for D&D, you've got the Forgotten Realms, right? And that was truly something that Wizards of the Coast pushed, or TSR. And then you have Greyhawk further back there, and that was Gygax's kind of, I'm not going to say original because it was Blackmore, but one of his more original settings.
Kind of his child, his like main setting. Yeah.
If you look at other settings for D&D, I mean, 3rd edition Eberron. Eberron was a setting created by Keith Baker, who was just someone who played Dungeons and Dragons. Sure, he had some game design experience, but he played D&D. He entered it in a contest to create a new campaign setting, and it became part of Dungeons and Dragons. This is a very similar thing. People played in Eberron before Eberron was a campaign setting. It was just Keith's campaign setting he played. The only difference now between that and what we're seeing here with Wildemount is there wasn't a contest. Instead, the games that were played in this setting were streamed. They were just visible for everybody. You know, Wizards does this kind of stuff. Especially, you know, you look back in Ravnica that they did back last September was a new campaign setting added because Magic is a really popular thing and it's a really cool crossover for folks. The Rick and Morty crossover?
The Rick and Morty
I mean, seriously though, right? Like,
well, in particularly Ravnica, like
in particular, more Ravnica because the campaign.
The step from Ravnica to Wildemount makes so much sense. That's what I was saying when I'm thinking about like what Wizards has been doing. They're trying to make the game feel more accessible for people that this is their primary exposure to these type of worlds and these type of settings. And for a lot of people, I think a very huge chunk of people that are coming into D&D these days, enough that I would say a percentage are getting
an appreciable percentage.
Yeah, like it shows up on the chart of Critical Role. People hear about the show because it's so huge. They watch the show and they learn about D&D that way. So this is for that percentage of the D&D population.
Yeah, well, and it's actually, I think, for more than that. There's a lot of really cool content coming out in this book. There are 3 new subclasses that are coming out as part of it. Thank you, Cold Spark. Ravnica was November 2018, so just over a year ago. But sorry, there are 3 new subclasses coming out in the book that, while they have ties to things in the setting, don't necessarily have to be from the setting. They are, we'll talk about them in a little bit, but there's the Echo Knight, a fighter subclass. I think it's a fighter.
That sounds rad. I don't know what that even means.
Yeah, the Graviturgist and the...
Chrono something?
Chronologist, I think. Something like that. 2 wizard subclasses relating to gravity manipulation and time manipulation. 2 concepts that people have wanted for a long time. These are things that are cool. They're archetypes that don't exist in 5th edition so far. And so I suspect they're going to be really good, partially because Wizards of the Coast has been collaborating very, very heavily on this book. They had the final design pass on everything that went into it mechanically. So
yeah, just to briefly address,
I think they're going to be very cool.
I saw some conversation in the Discord from a few people that were doubting Matt Mercer's kind of ability to brew.
Pete, I know what you're thinking. How dare they? No, I'm just kidding.
And I think the thing to consider going into this is that while this is Matt Mercer's child, you know, this is his world that he's built over years and put a lot of like love and heart into. This is not just a Matt Mercer project. This is the whole of Wizards of Coast are putting their energy into making this book. It's using the full of, you know, the Dungeons and Dragon team's resources. So I think that you can expect this to be of a quality commensurate with other things that Wizards of the Coast has put out. It is not entirely, you know, impendent upon one individual.
Yeah, and, you know, when you look at, and I switch saying, look at Eberron, well, and that's exactly my point, because Wizards had the final pass on Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron. That's why we got a neutered Warforged compared to the playtest. That's why we got a couple of funky shifters that over long-term play are fine, but in the short-term way that we play in D&D time, work. That's why we got these very powerful things. And the Changeling, let's be real, you can't have a Changeling without it being incredibly powerful.
Yeah,
just because of what it can do.
Inherently strong by nature of it, which is very cool for the setting, but not right for our game.
Yeah.
And
well, it's not the +3 charisma that was the problem, Cold Spark. It's a whole nother topic. It's the shape changing that was a problem for us.
a +3 Cha personally does not bother me.
Yeah,
but
not a problem. I think just the big thing I really want to point out, and Switch pointed out there, I want to hammer it in, is, if you look at Matt Mercer's old homebrew, it can be a little overly complicated, and that might be true. That's not going to be what's in this book, because Wizards of the Coast, and 5th edition specifically, is so good at streamlining. I think we're going to see a lot more refined design in this book. But in terms of balance, I mean, Wizards is part of it, but Wizards also released the Hexblade Warlock, so the hell if I know what's going to happen. Maybe everything will be broken as heck.
Oh, Hexblade. Black Wolf is here, and Maddie Morgs has gifted them a sub. Black Wolf, welcome, and Maddie.
Blessed be thy wolf.
And congratulations on your sub gift. Maddie, you're so generous. Thank you so much.
Black Wolf, you're almost like the evil Geralt of Rivia. I'm sorry, I've been watching a lot of The Witcher.
I watched only episode 1. I gotta get back in and
Pete, get off the stream. Get off. Go watch it. I'm turning your camera off. Go watch The Witcher. Oh wait, I can't turn your camera off yet.
And then Adrian P says, what about half-elf subclasses and Sword Coast Adventurers Guide? I know you're a fan of those. I don't think they're, like, crazy.
There's only one that's a problem, and it's the Drow.
Yeah, the Drow
ones are all pretty good.
The Drow one is better, but...
yeah, whatever.
But I think that on the whole, a lot of I would even go so far as to say that some of the balance issues of Eberron, if we want to say that there are major balance issues, which there are some, but it's not a terrible book. There's a lot of good content, I think, from the Eberron stuff. I think some of that is also just a shift in design perspective for Wizards of the Coast on the whole, which is that Wizards of the Coast is starting to err towards making things more powerful. There's been kind of a scaling of things. Like you look at the races, the subclasses from Xanathar's Guide versus the subclasses from the Player's Handbook, and they are, they're tuned up. And I think that's something that we're going to continue to see, which isn't necessarily incumbent upon Eberron, but more on just a shift in the whole of design philosophy. And it's something that I wouldn't be surprised to see here in Wildemount, but I will expect it to be, I expect it to be cool and quality content, regardless of, power level. Because, like I said, a lot of this stuff seems cool. Like, I think Matt Mercer's world is a very interesting world. He's put so much time and love into it.
Well, and let's get back on that, right? So Matt Mercer's world. There's not a lot that's really been announced about this book yet, but we can tell you a little bit about what you're going to see in it. Like I said, there are 3 new subclass options. The big thing I'm really excited about, there's a huge number of new spells that are supposed to be coming in this book.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Monsters and spells are the 2, I think, spells for players, monsters for dungeon masters. Those are your new toys. Those
spells
are like,
for dungeon masters.
Right, you crack open, oh God. You crack open that book and it's like ripping open a present, right? You're all excited to get at those spells and get at those new monsters. But the subclasses too are really cool, especially if you're starting a new campaign or if you've had the misfortune of your character dying and you need to roll a new one. And I think there's some really cool ideas coming out in here. And that's really what I want to focus on, is like the concepts. Do you have anything, Pete?
I don't know.
It sounded like you were about to say a thing and I kind of was running past.
I think I lost that particular thought.
Okay.
But I'm excited about some of the spells. There's been kind of a general lack of new spells that I'm like excited. I've been excited about. Like Xanathar's Guide had some. I saying like Sickening Radiance. Yeah, obviously there's.
Well, no. But here's the thing, right? Like a lot of the spells that are coming out in this book are spells related to what they call dunamancy, is their magic of space and time in this book. Incumbent to the setting, but could easily be ported to pretty much any setting you want. Doesn't have to be tied into any particular world.
I'm curious if some of the existing spells are going to be called dunamancy spells in this book. Because there's more spells, like, for example, I don't know much about it, but I know it relates to
it's
time
not
magic.
A new school. It's not a new school.
Oh, it's not considered a school of magic.
They're not going to call it new school. So they're not going to be, it's not going to be, I don't know, gravity well, dunamancy.
Fifth level dunamancy, yeah.
No, it's going to be a like 5th level transmutation.
Okay.
But actually, that's one of they've only talked about a couple of the spells that are coming out. One is, and no, dude, man, expressly not a new spell school. One of the new options, right, is called Gravity Well. You pick an area, and it sucks in monsters. If they fail a saving throw, they get drawn toward an area, and then it does some damage, some bludgeoning damage. It's a really cool thing that is actually one of the few things missing from 5th edition D&D, which is good area of effect crowd control. There aren't a lot of options past, like, Entangle.
Yeah, hypnotic pattern.
And even
Stinking
hypnotic
cloud.
pattern is just a CC, right? There's no movement there, right?
Yeah,
There's no tactical manipulation of the battlefield. There's just, are they stunned? Maybe.
Roll a dice and find out. That's fun. But yeah, I'm excited to see from those spells. They're definitely flavors that I really like. Like, I'm excited to see what kind of time magic they're putting in the game.
Yeah,
because that's a category that I adore. I've always wanted, like, time controlling Chronomancer is one that's always been on like the back burner of my mind. Is I want to make a Chronomancer wizard because wizard's the obvious home for it. But
yeah, absolutely. And then and yeah, well, speaking of it, so that's one of the subclasses we're getting is the Chronomancer. Don't know very much about how the Chronomancer is going to play at this point, but I'm going to guess that they're probably going to have some sort of feature that will play into when you cast a so-and-so spell, maybe you get to do something, you get to take an extra action that's not, that's below a certain point or something like that. I think there's going to be some cool mechanics relating to kind of cheating the action economy of the game, which I know...
I was gonna say, I bet you look at some stuff that's kind of like delayed fire blast, where you can cast another spell and delay it a turn, so you're gonna cast it in a moment.
And that's exactly one of the things that actually they did talk about, the ability to, like the Artificer in like the original Artificer, being able to freeze a spell at a moment at a time and give it to an ally to use later.
That's very cool too.
It's like the old Artificer, right? You put a fireball in a coin, hand that coin off to your bud, they got a fireball when they need it. So that's a pretty neat one. There are some cool mechanics, I know, with the Echo Knight, which is the fighter subclass, where they can basically pull a kind of shadow clone version of themselves in to help them fight and help them, reposition around the battlefield by... It's very similar to the, I think you're about to talk about this, Pete, the Trickery Cleric.
I wasn't, but
that
sounds... I was just going to say, that sounds really cool and fun. Farful 13 House, didn't Wizards do a take on Chronomancer a while ago?
That sounds familiar, but I don't remember it, so it must not have been good.
Farful, I think you are right. I think it was one of like the really unearthed arcanas back when like 5e had just first come out, but it didn't really like... Because I remember reading that, and I remember thinking, it was all right, but it wasn't like brilliantly...
You mean the Lore Master?
The Lore Master Wizard. So I don't know much about the other ones. The thing that I was most excited just in hearing about the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount is the Vestiges of Divergence was something that I would really like to see.
They're really cool.
Yeah, for anyone unfamiliar with the campaign, these are just like really high tier, essentially artifacts in probably more legendary items than they are artifacts.
Well, the idea about them is when you get them, they're of a certain power level. And similar to like in older editions of D&D, I know in 3rd edition there were the Weapons of Legacy, that as you leveled up, you unlocked new abilities in the weapons. That's how these new Vestiges of Divergence that's just the name for them in the setting, and if you want to port them into your own setting, they can be anything you really want. Doesn't really matter. You can reflavor them however you damn well please. But in this one, it's actually tied to something a little more abstract than just levels, right? To increase their power level and unlock their what's called exalted state, your character has to undergo some sort of deep personal triumph or conquest. It's an interesting concept, and I'm really interested to see how they run it with it in the book.
Yeah, that's because that's something that's always... Because these have appeared in the campaign, particularly in the previous campaign, not the one that they're currently running. I don't know if they're showing up again now.
In the Taldore campaign guide, which was his setting in his previous campaign of Crit Roll, a couple of them were put in there, but they were mostly good magic items, right? They were magic items created by good gods. And I know one of the big focuses in this one is creating evil magic items, ones that you might have to like, fight with, right? Sentient items that you have to wrest control over in order to use. And that just seems really cool to me. A magic item that comes with like a drawback and a like that's way more engaging to me as a player and to a viewer. But I'm very excited.
Yeah, and magic items of those higher tiers, those in the book, those are kind of like the candy, I feel like, of a book like this. I'm going to use the subclasses probably, and I'll use the spells and people see those, but the magic items will never get used. But those are the ones that I'm just going to really enjoy looking at and reading about. Oh, this would be a really cool thing for a 20th level character to have completely unlocked and stuff like that, which is just, it's fun to read that stuff. It's the kind of thing that makes me want to buy the book beyond just like needing to have all the updated content.
It's 304 pages. It's huge.
Yeah, I heard that. That's a beefy tome.
One of the things I love that they're doing in here, there are 4 adventures in this book. 4. That are designed to take your character from level 1 to level 3. And they're each set in a different geographic region of the book, with the intent of, if you want to run a campaign in the setting and you want to start anywhere on the continent of Wildemount, you can. That's awesome from even like forget the campaign setting option. That's great for, you want to run a campaign in a tundra setting? Oh, wow, look, a very cold tundra Arctic starter adventure. Really good. Right there for you.
I didn't know this about the book. That sounds very cool.
It's very, very exciting. As well. I always love when books give you a little adventure with them. What's the subclass called? Dudeman was asking. There were 3 of them. There's the Chronologist, the Graviturgist, and the Echo Knight. Echo Knight is a fighter. The Graviturgist is a wizard that deals with gravity, and the Chronologist is a wizard that deals with time.
And I think Dudeman may have been referring to the Chronomancer that we were talking in chat.
Oh.
Which I think was just called. I think it was just called the Chronomancer, but I'm uncertain on that. So, if you find it out, let me know if I was right.
I see Switch a little while ago was throwing some shade at us. Cool spells like Sickening Radiance. Well, Switch, for all of the Sickening Radiances that there were in the book, there were also Absorb Elementses and other really cool spells like that players like, that are really good for the game.
Like Ceremony, my favorite spell.
Oh, Ceremony is a great one. Cause Fear is one I really like. Even if it's not that good, I still very much enjoy it. But yeah, spells are only good. Worst case scenario is you say, all right, we don't want this spell.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. I think it's going to have a lot of, I think it has a lot of content that the game could really use and that I'm really excited to see. And the other thing that I think we've been kind of not talking about, beyond the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, there's been some discussion of also like the cultural impact of Critical Role. Yeah. And that this book, because I think that's the big thing about this, is people are worried that this book is unhealthy for D&D on the whole, because it promotes the particular style of play and is kind of like, people think it's maybe validating, as I think Adrian P was pointing out in Discord earlier, what people call the Mercer effect, and exacerbates that. Are you familiar? You must be, of course, with the term the Mercer effect, Jeremy?
Just to make sure we're on the same page here and that everyone in the chat's on the same page, I think what we're talking about is the concept that a player might expect a campaign or a play style to be of a certain nature, and then it not quite be that way.
Exactly.
Is that what you're? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that people's
I was going to say
only
that's
exposure.
The one pitfall.
Yeah, people's only exposure to D&D is through Critical Role, and so when they go to play D&D, they have certain expectations about how the game is played, and they expect people to run the game as Matt Mercer does, and that can be a problem that this book reinforces that.
Yeah, and here's the thing about that, right? That is bad for new players. That's it. That's really it. If you've been playing D&D for a long time and you play D&D with people who play for a long time, that's not a problem because none of you expect that. None of you come to a game and expect, excellent, my dungeon master of all these great voices in a fully fleshed world and blah, 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 blah. You don't come into that. You come in expecting Pete and Jeremy to be goofs,
Indeed.
Or whoever your dungeon master might be. Now, that can really suck for new players coming into it and having expectations that are unreasonable or just not understanding Dungeons and Dragons. But I can't fault the book for that.
Precisely. Yeah.
I can fault people for that.
And that is, in many ways, that is just the kind of the state of the world. I would rather have someone discover D&D with maybe starry eyes and some higher expectations of how the game is going to run, and maybe have their DM not be quite up to Matt Mercer's caliber, which, everyone DMs at different levels and has different quirks. And there are things about Matt Mercer that, are imperfect as a DM, which he's,
certainly,
bless his heart, he tries so hard to prevent this, and you always hear him talking like, hey, I play the way I like to play. Don't try and do my thing if it's not right for you. And he tries so hard to mitigate this. But, I'd rather have someone discover the game and maybe have get a little bit mixed up at the beginning through Critical Role than not hear about D&D at all.
Absolutely. I mean, and those horror stories happen. I think, most of us who know people or who have played with people who are new to D&D because of Critical Role have come to that situation. You've run into a person, or you know a person who's run into a person where the campaign has fallen apart, where it has just been a total failure, where people were really upset or annoyed or irritated, or where the dungeon master just got fed up with the expectations people had. And the truth of the matter is, for every, one person in one group that happens to, there are 20, 30, 100 groups that play and discover D&D for the first time and fall in love with the game, their own game. Even if they're playing a game where they're just playing characters, running around, hanging out with the characters from Critical Role. If that's the game that they enjoy, if that's their fun, that's great. It's great they're having a good time. That's my personal take on it.
Yeah. So to come back to Explorer's Guide to Wildemount and its kind of impact on the D&D community, I know there's also factions of people that are upset that this received a book before insert your favorite thing that hasn't gotten a book yet here. Farfel, I'm with you. It feels like a lot of this is thrown on Mercer when he's not doing anything wrong. Like when I hear Mercer effect, it always sounds like more of a blame thing. Yeah, it definitely, there's definitely some of that there, and I think some people are using it as kind of a blame thing. Other people, it just, you adopt the phrase because everyone says it, and it becomes easy to refer to that in that way.
When a group falls apart because someone's being a dick, whether it be the players being a dick to the DM for not being up to their standards, or the DM being a dick for trying to railroad you into being Critical Role when you want to just play your own game, that's not Matt Mercer's fault. That's that person being a dick. There's no one else to blame but them.
Adrian P., I'm so angry that Matt Mercer got a book before my favorite thing, Pete and Jeremy's. Yeah, I mean, I thought that D&D
just
time...
wait for July switch for our big announcement. Welcome to the Pete and Jeremy book.
Pete and Jeremy's Guide to Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. Would be
Roger's Guide to Bird Watching.
That's a pretty good one too.
It's just it's a new compendium of bird monsters.
Let us know if you can go ahead and get Wizards to make that. Make sure you guys don't actually email Wizards and tell them to make a
tweet at Wizards of the Coast. Please don't. Or do whatever.
The numbers won't be big enough that they'll actually be bothered by it, unless they are. Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. I think it's great. If you're worried about the other thing that you want to be published not being published yet, I feel you. I know it sucks when the thing that you're hoping for isn't out yet, but I think that this is a really honestly, I think that this is a really positive thing for D&D. It gets more people who are excited about D&D and who are coming into the franchise to keep being excited about D&D and maybe give the game a try for the first time. And that's something that I think is great about this book. And I, for one, am kind of, I also am excited about it.
Yeah. And, I'll be honest, I was bummed back when Ravnica came out because I didn't care about the Ravnica setting at all. And I was annoyed that, why isn't this a setting I care more about, like Planescape and Sigil or like Spelljammer, and a lot of people were. And, part of what Awaken opened my eyes is playing in D&D time and seeing all you guys who do love Ravnica, who have taken those concepts from Ravnica and built them into your characters and were inspired by it, because D&D is not a game for me. It's not a game for Pete. It's not a game for you. It's for everybody. And so maybe the Ravnica book wasn't for me, but it was for a lot of people. And I feel that's the exact same way about this Explorer's Guide book. Maybe it's not for you, but it is for a lot of people who love Dungeons and Dragons. So, don't worry. Your book will come out. It'll just take some time.
Yeah. And I think this may be the last one, on this subject. Because did you have much else to say about Wildemount?
No, not really. I think they were about ready to move on to subclass.
Yeah, I do want to address this last comment from Blood Deuce here, who's saying, look, I think there's some legitimate concerns to be had over Mercer's full class homebrew and how poorly nuanced most of it is, and some of that, the style of that might bleed into the book. I think, maybe you could be right. I won't deny the possibility that that's the case, but I personally am of the faith
Don't use the book.
Yeah, I'm of the faith that, it'll probably be good because it has Wizards of the Coast backing it, and Matt Mercer has a lot of heart and creativity, in my opinion. And we'll see how it comes out. It's just going to be down to the proof will be in the pudding, one way or the other.
And in this chapter, we talk about adventures based around sentient vegetables, the D&D time.
You mean chapters 3. 1 through 3? the majority of adventures are about sentient vegetables, I feel.
So yeah, let's. I think that just about wraps us on Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. We hope that's been helpful for you guys, letting you know a little bit what you're going to see in it, and maybe just to help quell some of the concerns. And I'm sure you've heard them; they're all over the internet.
Yeah.
So you guys are maybe a little more positive about what's going on in the future, because that's the best thing you can do to be happy. Just be positive.
I'm very optimistic about this book.
Yeah, let's hop on to our next subject for the evening.